Hello, it's Nikki, and in today's story time, I would love to have a conversation. And I get the fact that I'm just talking to you, but I'd love you to let me know your thoughts or what's come up for you or what season of life that you're in, where you're going next. I'd love to have a conversation about change and taking a leap and being bold and going for it, even though everything on the inside is like, I don't know if I can do this. Exactly that. Sometimes these changes, these leaps, these transitional moments come circumstantially. So you might move house to a new area. You might go to study somewhere. You might have a baby. You might get divorced. You might be made redundant. Your career might change direction. And so these circumstantial moments in your life mean that essentially, or this is what it feels like, every piece of your life is thrown up in the air and you're just looking around hoping it will land safely and somehow you can piece it back together in the new format that it's going to thrive in. And also, so I've experienced many of those. And I also know those leaps, those changes, those shifts, those moments in my own life when I've pressed go, when I've had that niggle within me that I cannot ignore. And this niggle, and I'd love to know how it shows up for you, but this niggle is very multifaceted. It will do whatever it takes to get me to listen. So sometimes it comes through in a very calm, spiritual, connected, grounded way of keep following the path, keep doing what you're doing. Sometimes it comes to me when I'm out running and I'm literally like got ideas like this, do this, do this, do this. Or sometimes it comes in a slightly bitchy year 10 girl that is not kind to me, but it will ignite something in me. And usually that is the last version that comes. You know, I've sent you the calm spiritual version. I've sent you the ideas. And now I'm sending out the year 10s who are going to say to you something like, what are you doing? Like, you said you wanted to do that. Why are you not doing it? That passive aggressive voice in my head, that is usually the thing that gets me to switch things, because suddenly I'll then have that moment with my notebook and pen and go, why am I not doing that? Why am I saying that I want X, Y, and Z and yet doing nothing about it? Telling myself a series of lies that I'm too old, I'm too ginger, I've left it too late, I'm too busy, I could never afford it, I would be the worst in the class, I don't know what I'm doing anyway, whatever it is. I mean, literally, if you say to your brain, I've got this like idea that I would love to do, but I'm not sure about it. If you're not sure about it portion of the whole pie is, I don't know, 70%, your brain will say, don't worry. Like, this is the majority here. And I'm going to keep sending you all the excuses and all the reasons why. Don't worry, I've got you. And what you notice is as soon as you start to lean towards, well, maybe I can't do it, your brain will go, yeah, you're right. You can't do it. And so what we need to do in these moments is to build the vision. And this is the work that I've been doing with clients for 15 years, alongside building my own personal brand of speaking and acting and coaching and writing and content creating and collaborating and working with brands and all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And also being a mum as well. That is a role I take very seriously because there's so many hours to it. I don't know if you felt like this over the summer holidays, but We really put a shift in. Anyway, I want you, firstly, or invite you to grab a piece of paper and a pen and write down what is coming to mind right now in terms of those shifts and those pivots that you want to make. And maybe it's something small, such as, do you know what? I don't want to be the late person anymore. This late personality has become my whole personality. I feel disorganized. I feel stressed. I feel like I'm behind. I want to look at things in a different way. Or maybe you've had this idea, this dream, this vision for yourself that has just been metaphorically stuffed in the back of a cupboard. And the longer it stays there, the more you look at the dust that it's gathering rather than the idea. And so today I want you to think about, what would it take for you to go into that cupboard inside your brain and take the thing and look at it and think about it and make a plan to make it happen. And I'm not going to promise, video is not going to be clickbaity in the slightest, but what I am going to say is, even if you go for this idea, you don't have to make it work overnight. You don't have to come back with some big sexy figures of like, I was nothing and then suddenly I had a 7-figure business. We don't need to jump from 0 to 100 immediately. Give yourself that time and grace and consideration to figure it out, to analyze it, to think about it, to consider it. I often think about, when I go to a restaurant, how long people take to peruse the menu. And we will all know people in our lives, won't we? There are some people who are in there, like my son pretty much knows what he's going to eat before he goes somewhere, because he loves to look at the menu on the website. And we like to do that together. It's like a nice activity. And also I want my kids to get really excited about doing things. And I know that lots of people go out all the time to eat and it's a fairly regular thing. But I am really big on things being cherished and honored and looked forward to. And so you really feel the reverence of it and the excitement. And I think in this instant gratification world that my kids and maybe your kids are growing up in, I think that's a really good skill. Anyway, I got distracted by food chat. But when I look at people in restaurants, there are those people who are like, I know that I'm having burger and chips, and I know what kind of ice cream that I'm having for my pud. So that's all sorted. And then there will be some people who will read that menu like a novel. They'll really go over it. Okay, so that comes, that pie, it comes with chips or mash, or, okay, what do I want? And they're going into, maybe there's mash inside the pie. They're going into so much detail. And I really hope for those people that they are going over the crevices of their life with the same level of detail, that focus in their life and business is across the board, or that it's not just limited to one area. So this big change, I want you to think about what that might be for you. And I want to give an example as I've been doing some planning, doing some thinking, getting truly ready for 5 days where the kids are at school after a long summer, of stepping up for myself. And firstly, I want to say, anything that I'm saying to you today, you can choose whether this is the right time for you. And some of you would be like, I had a baby yesterday, so I'm not doing anything apart from this. I get you. But also, if immediately your default is like, I don't want to play. I don't even know what I would write on the paper. I don't know if I can do this. What? what is this? I'm not sure. If you get that reaction, that's great. And I'm smiling because I know that that is nothing to do with me. I know that in my coaching work, I am there to activate people, to give them that like friendly, cushioning nudge in the right direction. And that's on you. If you're having all of those thoughts and feelings, I want you to sit with them and go, oh, do I always do that? Do I get a bit nervous about change? I wonder why that is. Just be really inquisitive. Because I know I have my own activations. I was going to say triggers, but activations sounds so much more enlightened, even though it's exactly the same thing. But those moments where in my body I get that sense of like, where my back goes up, I know it's nothing to do with that person. I know it's to do with me. So when I was thinking about where I'm going next, I came to the conclusion that I was going to give myself the permission to label this. And what I mean by this is I decided to say from September to Christmas, and we now know what our Christmas plans are. Yeah, we are those people in Septembers, but they are locked in. I also know when the kids finish school, and we've got all of those dates. So I'm already planning, okay, when am I going to take that time off for Christmas? This is a brand new thing for me that I've only been experimenting with over the last few years, everybody. So I'm really delighted, and I'm saying it out loud because I actually have good boundaries in my business now. Anyway, that's another live. Of course it is. But what I have established is I am in a level up, lock in, not lockdown, lock in. Let's see what's possible. Because I also think, and I'm going to tell you a story in a little bit. I also think I'm 44 in November. I know. We are all getting older. And so what am I faffing about? Like, what am I doing? I also had my second kid at 37. So she's going to be at home until like my late 50s. I'm sure of it. She's probably going to be at home in like the middle of my 60s. So this story that I'm telling of like, well, I'm a mum now. It's like, I'm going to be a mum for years, all being well. Tap, tap, tap. Knock on wood. I'm really, I'm hoping that I'm going to be around for many years. And also I'm realizing that I can go for it and give myself permission to do it on my terms. I don't have to play the bro internet marketer who is working 18 hours a day, living in a dark room in a basement. That is not my idea of a good time. I mean, you can see from this wall and this like gorgeous plant in the background, I want to live my life. I want vibrancy. I want connection. I want to be in the world. I want to be curious and creative and inspired. And I want all of those sorts of things. And I also know that we all get to choose what we do. And even if you've been in a stage where you've been saying to yourself, I can't do it, or maybe life has just been tough at the moment, really tough. Tough where you've either had to make some big decisions, you've had to just switch off and get on with it and not question it and just go through the motions. I hear you. I hear you. And maybe you're watching this video and maybe you don't know who I am in a way that we don't have a relationship. Or maybe you're watching this video and you haven't seen my face for a while. And you might have a perception of who you think that I am and what I'm all about. But whatever that is never the full story. And you would know that if you had a conversation with me. But what I want to say is taking ownership and labeling the season that you are in and making sure that season and its label is in alignment with where you're going and the results that you want, that's when things can begin to gallop. So for example, when I'd had really long pregnancy, a 3-day labor, a very heavy baby, a really stressful time, I was not in a like, let's go mode in the first couple of months of having a baby. I was not a mumpreneur. I was putting one foot in front of the other, trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do, how I was going to juggle this, how I was ever going to feel like I had a sense of myself, or I just wasn't in that phase of life. But equally, if you know that it's time, then I've got some things for you and some exercises. And I've been talking for 15 minutes now, 16 minutes, and I haven't even got into the juice. So let's do that, because I know you have other things to do. So 25 years ago, I moved to London from a village in Lincolnshire. I kept saying it was a small village. It's actually not. It's got 3 pubs. So that for me is a definition of a medium to large sized village. I haven't been back for quite some time. Actually, I drove through it a little while ago. But it, a fairly big village. But it was one of those places that if you want to go somewhere, you need a car or transport of some kind. And there were the basic amenities there. And I moved from there to London, where I knew nobody. I had a place at a prestigious top drama school, which I had auditioned for. I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know how this training was going to be. Like everything, I was leaving, everything that I knew, my friends, my family, my home comforts. And like that house I lived in the first year. I mean, yeah, character building, one of those. It was not nice in the slightest. So everything changed in a matter of weeks. And when you make moves like that, whether or not it's an external thing where you've got to make the move because no longer can things go on in the way that they were before, or whether that's an internal thing of I need to press go on this, the default setting in your brain will often be the opposite. Your brain will not like it, will not enjoy it when you expand, when you do something different. Our brains are programmed for us to stay the same, stay predictable, stay in line. And if you suddenly go, no, I'm doing something different, your brain is going to go, no, and freak out. And secondly, if your vision and you wanting to do something is coupled with, I'm not really sure, and do I really want this? Like, will this work out? Oh, I've got imposter syndrome. What if I fail at everything? What if I'm the worst person? What if I can't do X, Y, and Z? If you have a substantial chunk in your brain that is operating like that, your brain will go, don't worry, mate. I'm going to send you more of that stuff. I'm going to I'll keep it coming just to keep you safe. Keep us safe. It'll be all right. Don't worry. Your brain doesn't want you to have that big vision. And so when I work with people, I am expecting fully for people, or if I host a speaking gig or something, on one hand, I am fully expecting people to be excited about the content, about the growth, about the process, about actually doing it and showing up. But I also know they're going to come with stuff. Can I really do this? Will this work for me? I feel really nervous. I've never invested in myself before. Can I? And I know this to be true not only because I've coached hundreds of people over the last 15 years, but because in my own life, I've continually stepped it up. And sometimes that has been circumstantial. Sometimes that's been my mentor saying, you're really weak in this area. You need extra classes on this. Or I certainly had moments like that at drama school where my head of year would say, like, you need to up this part of the course, and I think you'd really benefit from this. And it was a case of rising to the occasion and doing it and stepping up. And it can be all of the things, and I really want to normalize that. Number 2, once you make a decision to do the thing, you're going to see everything, all of it. It's like somebody turns the village hall lights on at the end of the disco. And so, because it was the 80s or the 90s, like whilst the disco was going on, it might seem a bit dark and moody, and there's a bit of a smoke machine, and like the light is catching everybody's eyes, so everybody looks really hot and fit. And then they turn the lights on, and it's like, oh no, there's a girl puking in the corner. There's 2 lads like rolling around and wrestling here. There's somebody like shouting because they've lost something. There's all kinds of chaos and carnage. And when you decide to step up, so to use this example again of when I moved and I started this 3-year course, I realized on the day when I started, but also the weeks up until the moment, that I had a lot of cleaning up to do to get ready for this next step. And that came in the form of organizing the stuff that I wanted to move down with, like rearranging my childhood bedroom and really thinking about how I was cleaning up, goodbyes and seeing people before I left. But I also had a lot of bad behavior. I wasn't on great terms with my parents. I mean, this is age and stage, 18 years old, when you're on that cusp, you've got a bit of responsibility, you've got a bit of flexibility. Those tensions in those houses are stretchy, like you're just battling the whole time. And what I remember also, that I was just being an 18-year-old. I was drinking too much. My diet was rubbish. I had really blurry boundaries. I had a lot of toxic interactions, relationships, men, let's say it, boys, probably boys, a couple of men, boys. And a lot of my behavior was not conducive to where I wanted to get to. And I clocked that. And it was a relief to know in myself that I needed to clean some stuff up and I needed to do some stuff. And maybe that's you. Maybe on one hand, you're saying, I want the thing, I want to be that person. But actually where you are right now needs a good wiping of the surfaces. And sometimes I've noticed, I genuinely do this. Every single night before I go to sleep, I always have a moment of like, what went really well today? Where do I need to improve? What do I need to change? Like, what am I grateful for? What shifted? I'm really reflective in that way. And I do that sort of surface spring cleaning of things every day. But equally, there are sometimes moments where I have to do a deep clean and go deep and ask myself those big questions and get those difficult answers. Why is this not working? Why am I throwing... Excuse me, I've got hiccups. Oh no, am I going to have hiccups? No, it's fine. Is it? Yeah, it's fine. Sometimes there's that moment where I'll say like, but I'm doing everything. I've tried everything. And yet I'm missing the really obvious things. And yet I'm maybe trying to do too many things all at once. And so I want you to think about what is blocking and stopping you from moving in that direction in which you desire, and to do your work first. You always have to go first. I sometimes have this with clients or inquiries where people are like, I'm not in a position to invest and I don't really think I'm ready. And they feel like they have to convince me of their position. And actually, they've said it. They're not ready. Because I also have clients who go, let's go. Send me your invoice. I had that the other day. Send me the invoice. I'll get it paid this afternoon. Great. We can get going. Lovely. But I would never want to push or convince somebody into that motion, because you have to take responsibility for yourself. And if you say you want it, then you got to do something about it. You can't spend all your energy working out the excuses and the reasons why not and carrying all that stuff. That's baggage. It's just literally getting in the way between you and the thing. And sometimes I have to visually do that. If I'm giving myself excuses, patterns of behavior, procrastinating, saying I have to be perfect before I do all the things, I draw it on a piece of paper. And I think about the distance between where I am right now and what it is that I want. And then I look at all the pieces. I'm like, oh, so on the surface, I'm sending the emails or I'm doing the things, but none of it is happening underneath. That's why it's not happening. Okay. Remember, I am absolutely doing this work too, 100%. Number 3, I remember that first day where I stepped through the door. And I remember feeling that sense of relief that I got to the start line. And I often have heard people, I haven't run the marathon, I've only ever done a half marathon, but I regularly watch the London Marathon. And you can see it also on the telly where people line up in Greenwich for that first start line. Like, okay, here we go. After months of training, I am doing this. And I felt like that on that first day of drama school, like this build up from age 4 to 18, I made it. I did it. I got to here. Also, those moments where I've signed up to work with a coach for a year. And I remember umming and ahhing and being like, wow, I thought I was going to buy this $2,000 course. And I ended up spending nearly 10 grand on this experience. And I did not expect to 5 times my investment. And I really ummed and ahed because I had a tiny baby at the time. And it was the month before lockdown, even though we did not know that at the time. And, in hindsight, of course, you think, blimey, was that a great decision? But actually, it all worked out in the end and it was fine. But once I finally got to that stage of making the decision and setting things up and signing the contract, I was like, okay, I'm in. Good. Now let's go. Because having that person in my corner for a year was invaluable. I knew that if I had said, I am in for the next year, I had to show up. Not always 100%, because we're not perfect. I've been in my relationship for 18 years and I can only speak for myself, but I'm not 100% shiny, like, hi, I'm fantastic. I'm the best person in the world to live with. I'm not, because I'm a human being. And equally, you give other people grace to be like that because you know that you're not either. But what happened in making that decision was that there was no going back. And I had got to that stage, like in so many other stages of my life, where I got to the stage where I was relieved to have backed myself. Because there are so many opinions. And one of the things that used to happen to me all the time as a kid, and maybe it came from a loving place and maybe it didn't, but strangers or people I didn't really know very well, not necessarily my immediate family because they were always very supportive, but people would have this thing of like, don't dream too big because it might never happen. Or don't you think that's a bit ambitious? Or all these kind of leading questions. And now, I mean, at 18, I would have just smiled and nodded. But now, nearly age 44, I want to talk about that. I want to bring that to the table, and I want that to be part of the conversation. Because when we are doing something, and I even had it, when I had kids, like, yeah, but how are you going to make it work? I'm like, I don't know. How did you make it work? How did that person make it work? They figured it out. They took one step in front of the other. But this whole thing of like waiting till it's perfect, in that perfect time, in that way that it's displayed on the TV or in a film, which is actually created probably 150 people to manufacture, it's not real. And most of us will have all of those feelings, and we will be doing things that sometimes our nearest or dearest or people that we know will have an opinion on, and they will want to put us in a box, and maybe we don't want to be in that box anymore. And if you don't want to be in that box, I can help you. Number 4, I understood very quickly when I walked through that door the new levels, and the levels that I didn't even know would be quite so soon. And so I had this dream of going to drama school and to have acting as a career, and it's still very much part of my income pie, which I'm so grateful for. But I had all these big dreams of these things that I wanted to do. And this is the thing that can happen, is sometimes we know where we are right now and we've got the big dreams, but we're not connected to the big dreams. And we're not doing the work that is needed in order to do the thing that's going to get us closer. So some people might say, I'd love to be a millionaire one day. But what you've got to figure out is how to make your first 100 quid, first 1,000, first 10,000, first 100,000. That's the work you need to do. But also suddenly when you step into doing that work, it's like, oh, I've got to do the work. And what they cleverly did was they told us, I was going to say they asked us, they didn't ask us, they told us we had to go and watch the third year shows. And in your third year at drama school, you begin to invite agents, and it's your kind of professional year. So you had 2 years, certainly how it was on my course at that time, 2 years of training and learning and experimenting and falling around in a leotard. And then by the time you're in your third year, you're in the sort of professional era. And I remember going to watch these third year shows and going, oh my gosh, they're so good, and they're all together, and how are they there, and like, this is where I need to be in 2 years time. And it gave me that incredible focus. And my takeaway from this is, wherever you are going next, you've got to get in the room with people who are already doing it. And it doesn't have to be those people who are miles and miles ahead. It's the people who are on the next level, who have figured it out. Because if we go back to a Sega Mega Drive game, it's like the people in the next level, they know where the golden key is. And yet you're doing this jumpy thing and you're trying to unlock it, and then your time out and it's not working. And then if somebody like a big brother is sitting next to you and it's like, the key's in there, just get the key, bounce on it 3 times, get the key out, and it will unlock the next bit. You're like, oh, okay, great. That's how you learn. And sometimes seeing what the level up involves is scary. And again, we go around this loop of the self-sabotaging voices coming out again and again. Can you really do this? Is this possible for you? Blah, 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 blah. All of it. It will always come out to play. But guess what? I have become so much better at spotting it. There you are. Here again. Right. What do you want? What are you here to tell me? I feel like I sit it down and I go, what's going on? You know, like you would with your kid or your friend or whoever it might be, when you go, are you all right? And they go, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. And you go, you're not fine. What do you need? What's going on? What's going on with you? What's happening? Number 5, when you make this next decision, you're not going to just feel all of it in the moment. You're going to begin the next path. So if you imagine like a little circle and you've got different balls of wool in there, and suddenly you let one of the balls of wool go, it begins to create a path. And as I reflect, going back to this decision to move away from home when I was 18, I knew that in that moment it was the next right step, and it felt amazing to do. But I also quickly discovered that it was going to be hard and tough and challenging and triggering and all of the things. And actually that next 3 years of my life were some of the toughest that I've ever experienced in so many different ways, many of which are not my stories to tell. And yet, when I look back on those 3 years and the takeaways that I got from that, I met some of the greatest friends, the greatest people in my life that I am still friends with 25 years later, that I went on a holiday with at the beginning of the year, well, a weekend away. And they're still like my people who I could phone up in the middle of the night and go, can you come and get me? Or I'm worried about, like, they're amazing. And I feel so lucky that I've still got that core group. I was also thinking the other day that the first week that I was there, I met somebody who was a friend from home of one of my friends. And she'd started the week before. And so she came to our Freshers Week, and that was great. And like I got to know her, and I got to know her really well. And we went on holiday. The holidays is like a pattern. I got to know her really well over the next 3 or 4 years. That person who was a friend of a friend would be the person that would introduce me to Matt all those years later, 7 years later. So when I was 25. And we have a house and kids and a life. And it's so weird when you look back on those moments that maybe don't make any sense at that time. But in hindsight, you go back and you go, oh, that was the moment. That moment when I said yes, or that sliding doors thing, or that sense where I listened to the niggle and I did it anyway and I just ran with it. I had it with this house. It had gone through 2 rounds of like started purchases before us. And then I saw it one day online, and we hadn't been ready to be part of it. I'd seen it like in the June beforehand or something. And then I saw it, and I did the school drop off, and I hadn't even really spoken to Matt about like properly seeing it. But I went on a run, and I just passed the estate agents, and I was like, I'm going to book an appointment. I'm going to go and see the house. I'm going to ask if I can see it. I'm going to book it in now. And we now live in this house. And I know there are a lot of other things, a lot of logistics that come into that. But sometimes when you look back on things, it would be so easy to say no, or it's not the right time, or I haven't got all the pieces in the puzzle. One final thing I'm going to finish it on is we've all reached an age now where we know people who haven't made it to this age for various reasons. And that is emotional on all kinds of levels, all sort of different circumstances, and you will have your own version of that. Like sometimes I have it about my grandparents, like, oh, they would have, I mean, my nana, who was like their great nana, like she got to meet my kids, but the others didn't, and some of Mattie's did. But I just often will say to my mum, like, oh, Granny would have loved these kids. And it's just, You know, life is funny, and it moves and it changes and it reshapes, and I want to end here. What do you want? Truly. What do you want? What do you want for your life? What is your success pick and mix? And I want you to get really specific. We will brush ourselves off with blanket statements like, oh, I just want to be happy. And I always want to say, but what does that mean? What does that mean to you? I want to be happy. Describe it. What does that look and feel like? What's going on? And if you don't know that detail, I want you to ask the opposite question. How do you know when you're unhappy? I bet you know that answer. I bet you know what's going on. I actually said to my kids the other day, because we were just having one of those days, maybe it was the end of the summer holidays, where, you know, as a parent, you just feel like you're repeating yourself. Can you put your shoes on, please? Can you move the thing? Can you, please? Please. And I said to my kids, when you don't listen and I am repeating myself, you don't get the best of me. I was like, I'm really funny, you know. I've got jokes. I've got things to say. I've got stories to tell. I am better than just repeating myself the livelong day. And of course that breaks the silence and they laugh, and then, you know, one of them will go, oh, actually you are quite funny. Oh, thanks. I also know. Yeah. I want you to give it some thought. If I can help and I can support you, send me a message. And that message doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to give me a plan. You don't have to give me a list of all the things. It doesn't have to be neat and tidy. But all I need from you is a intention to make some moves, to want something different, and to want it more than what you've currently got. And to tell me what you like and what you're excited about and what you wish you could do and what's on your list and what's been lurking in the back of your drawer for way too long. And I want you to be brave, and I want you to be clear, and I want you to be specific, and I don't want you to edit yourself, and I want you to listen to your heart and speak from that place. I call it a golden paragraph. I've had to write them so often in my life, although Matt would say I can't write one. I have to write about 8, which is fine. But that moment where I stand up for my dreams and I say, I really want this thing, and this is why I want it, and this is what it looks like, and all of that stuff. You know, I did it when we moved into this house. I've done it for so many things I can't even think. But that moment where you speak your truth, not the polite, shiny version, not the version of you that is like, you know, yeah, I'm okay. Or you just say, yeah, it was nice. What about that fire? What about that version of you? You know, we know it in ourselves. You know when you're going through the motions and plodding and just putting one foot in front of the other. And you know those times where you have that zing, you have that spark, you have that, I love my life, where you're always like on the cusp of laughing and crying because you're so cracked open. I'm going to stop talking because I've spoken for nearly 45 minutes. What did you get from this? What landed for you today? I would love to know. If you've watched this and you're going to drama school, or you've navigated, I don't know, drama school stuff, like send me a message if I can help and support you. Like, let me know if you've got questions, because I didn't have anyone to ask when I was a kid. In fact, my theatre studies teacher was like, I don't know any of the answers to your questions. So I thought, okay, great, brilliant. So we didn't have the internet there either. So I now know, because I can create videos, then you might see this. So wherever you are today, have a lovely rest of the day. Allow these thoughts to percolate and to also do something with them. And finally, have some great grub tonight. If you have any good recipes of things that you're cooking for your family, for yourself, for your partner, for your mum at the moment, please send them to me, because I cannot cook the same 3 meals on rotation anymore. I did a lot of cooking in the summer holidays and I need to refresh things. So even I don't just look at the oven and be like, oh, it's that again. Oh gosh. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, congratulations. I've gone on some twists and turns. I'm sending you lots of love and I'll catch you again soon. I know it. If you want my contact details, if you want to book in some sessions, I'll send you my calendar, but you need to email me. hello@nickyraby.com. It's just me on my emails. There's no bots, no robots. You're not going to get anything automated. It's just me, and I'll come back to you ASAP. Lots of love. If you want the sessions, by the way, they're in person in London. I always choose nice places with lovely drinks and not alcoholic, but you know, tea, coffee. You're not get anything like wet and watery, like, you know, that orange juice you might have had when you were a kid at parties. Or I work online globally. Lots of love. I'm going to stop now. Bye.